The day that I first had this sandwich, I immediately stopped looking for a better one.
It's the best sandwich I ever had.
8 trips to Miami, dozens of Cubano sandwiches, and this hidden gem, Las Olas Cafe, was the only one that truly spoke to me. And it wasn't just the perfect shredded Mojo roast pork or the salsa verde that they served it with, but it was how they served the sandwich. They don't cut it in half on the bias like a normal Cubano sandwich. They cut it lengthwise, long and skinny down the middle, and then take those cut halves and sear them on the griddle. The result is something that eats more like a hot dog, and strangely to me, reminds me of like a Big Mac.
It's like a hot dog and a Big Mac.
The sandwich is a revelation, and today we're inducting it into Stevie's Food Hall of Fame and making it from scratch. Real roast Mojo pork, homemade Cuban bread. This is the Las Olas Cubano, the best Cuban sandwich I've ever had. Now, a Cuban sandwich consists of 6 ingredients: Cuban bread, Mojo roast pork, ham, mustard, pickle, and Swiss cheese. A lot of those things, they're taken care of for us. 2 things need our attention: the roast Mojo and the Cuban bread. And those require being prepped in advance. So let me take you back to yesterday. So now to make a Cuban bread, like many breads or pizzas, we need a starter. And the starter is pretty simple. It's basically 1 part water to 1 part flour and a little bit of yeast. So I have 120 grams of water here, 120 grams of bread flour, and I'm going to combine the 2 into a tall container. Now I've got some instant yeast. To make the starter, I'd go with about like half a packet of yeast in there, which you can do. However, I happen to have some starter in the fridge already, some leftover. Fed it a little bit of flour and water just to keep it alive. There's probably like 100 grams in here. And so since we have like this active culture already in here, we're just gonna contribute that into our new starter. You can even take this residue, add flour and water to it, 30 grams of flour, 30 grams of water, and you can make new starter with just that residue on the side of the container. And then we're just gonna mix that up together. You're gonna make sure you get all the dry flour at the bottom, and it's just well combined. What you should be looking for is just like a very wet dough. We're gonna pop a lid on this guy, place it in the fridge at least overnight, but you would keep this going. Ideally, you just feed it a little flour and water every day, or when it starts to collapse, and you could keep this going forever, essentially. Now, a starter isn't the only thing we need to get done ahead of time. We need to make a beautiful aspect of this recipe, which is the Mojo roast pork, or at least the marinade for it, and get that pork marinating early. Overnight is best, 2 days, that works great as well too. So the first aspect of the Mojo is generally would be sour orange, but we don't have that. So we're basically gonna replicate that by using 2/3 a cup of orange juice, and then 1/3 a cup of lime juice. That with all the spices and garlic, some of the best pork you'll ever have. Now, based in my experience, 2/3 of a cup is gonna roughly be 3 oranges. I'm just gonna take my fork, poke it, sort of breaking up the fibers, allowing me to juice it a little bit more thoroughly and easier. Sort of rotating it, making sure I just get a good yield out of each half. You can also, funny story, I had to get an MRI on my arm the other day. Kind of panicking, and kind of slightly claustrophobic. Turns out the MRI tech was a follower. Great guy, Joe. Shout out Joe, thank you. Made me feel at ease. Was able to get the MRI, no problem. I'm gonna start taking care of it. All right, so we've got our orange, and we can do this with the limes. 3 limes, 3 oranges works. So now I've got like this little hotel pan. This is what we're gonna roast the pork in, but we're gonna marinate it in plastic and just kind of hold it in there. So I'm gonna go in with the orange juice and lime. To that, a 1/2 cup of olive oil, roughly. We got our spices, we got some oregano. Mexican oregano if you've got, but regular is fine. Tablespoon of onion powder, you can eyeball it. Tablespoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of coriander, teaspoon of cumin. Some fresh cracked black pepper, bay leaf. Now we got a whole shebang of garlic here, right? Gonna take a bunch of whole garlic, gonna add them in. I'm gonna hold back some of the larger pieces, and then I'm gonna grate them. Grating in about like 6 cloves, throwing in another 6 whole. So now we've got our marinade, we can just sort of zhuzh up. Here we have a boneless, skinless, 4-pound pork butt here. This should be enough for about 4 sandwiches. You notice we didn't salt the marinade. It's because we can't control it that way. I like to salt the meat itself because salt is not a spice. It's an essential thing, right? That needs to be dialed in. So I don't really add salt to my marinades. We're gonna go straight onto the pork. And you wanna be generous. The way that I kind of go is just once it's kind of completely dusted all over the place, almost like a frosted donut, that's when I know it's ready. So now we're gonna take the pork and add it to the bag of marinade. Close it up 2/3 of the way and then start to suck some of that air out and just rub it around. Lay it down, then we're gonna put it in the fridge, and every few hours, I'm just gonna flip it, make sure it gets nice and evenly marinated on all sides. Now all we have to do tomorrow is throw some ingredients in the mixer, get a little dough going, empty this bag of plastic into this bin and toss it into an oven. You're halfway there. So I'll see you back here tomorrow. All right, so it's the next day. Our pork has been just bathing in all of that amazing mojo. Just going to slide that all in. Such an amazing smell. Then simply all we've got to do, take a little parchment, and I'm just going to cover the top. It's very acidic. Acidity and meats in general sometimes just don't react well when it touches aluminum foil. The parchment's also going to steam it, cook it really nicely, and protect it from the foil on top. You could also do this in like a Dutch oven. So now I've got my oven preheated, 300 degrees. We're gonna cook it nice and slow for about 4 hours. At around 3 hours, we're gonna remove the top. We're gonna put the heat up a little bit higher. That's going to both brown the meat and prep the oven temp for when we ultimately are gonna bake the Cuban bread in, which is what we're going to start on now. Now, the flour for this recipe, it's gonna be bread flour. So I got me some of that organic stuff. I actually got a flour mill. We're gonna start milling our own flour eventually. Now, outside of the starter we made yesterday, that flour and water is going to be factored into the equation today, but we need 450 grams of this bread flour measured out. Now to that, we've got our starter from yesterday. I mean, look at that. She's beautiful. Now we don't need all of this. I only need 250 grams of it. That's gonna leave us with some left over because I made extra yesterday. I have a pizza recipe in mind, so I'm just going to keep that leftover and we're gonna feed it and just keep it going, and that's what you should be doing with this type of thing. 45 grams of lard. Lard is what makes Cuban bread Cuban bread. Gives it that crisp outer shell that doesn't sort of shatter, but kind of has stability, and that fluffy, pillowy inside. Allows it to get smushed down and gives it that iconic texture. Then we got 15 grams of salt, 15 grams of sugar. Salt, gonna be the last thing that gets added. And then we got the rest of that half pack of yeast that we use to make the starter. We've got our bowl. To the bowl, we have 225 grams extra of warm water. We're gonna add that straight to our mixing bowl. Now we're gonna get all set up here. We're gonna get the dough hook in. Gonna add the sugar, the yeast. I'm gonna start mixing in the flour, but I'm gonna add it a little bit at a time. This allows that flour to slowly get introduced into the water, make sure it gets nice and hydrated. Add a little bit more. Get that dry flour from the sides worked in. A little bit more. Now I'm just gonna take some of our starter and measure it out because I don't need all of this. Just 250 grams. Get that worked in, and then the rest of the flour. Now we can add in our lard, room temperature, of course. Once it's all come together, I'm just gonna raise the speed. I wanna just allow this to knead for a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or until you can kind of stretch it into what they call a window pane, or just basically means stretching a thin layer of it without it tearing immediately. So what we're gonna do is just let it go about 10 minutes or so and then begin testing it. And you're gonna see the dough smooth out and kind of pull away from the walls and turn into a nice soft dough. Forgot one thing, now we gotta add the salt. Salt always goes last. Over time, as you can see, all that stuck on bits around the bowl sort of gets sucked into the dough, and the bowl almost cleans itself, and that shows the dough's getting less sticky, it's getting some structure built. It's a good sign. Now let's check for the window pane. You see how it stretches and it kind of pulls thin, but just at a certain point, it breaks in several places? That's telling me we're on our way and almost there. but not quite there. So we're gonna go a little longer. Now, after about 13 minutes, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna give it like 2 minutes to just relax. Sometimes the dough needs a minute to relax to really assess it. After a couple minutes, I can feel it's definitely relaxed a bit more. Let's give it a test. You see how much more extensible it is? It's got enough extensibility and elasticity to hold a little bit of a window pane before it eventually tears. I just got a bowl. I'm gonna hit it with some spray oil. I'm just gonna knead it into a smooth ball. We're gonna cover it and we're gonna allow it to rise until it about doubles in size. Probably gonna take about an hour. Put this back here by the warm stove. That leads us back to our residual starter, right? We've got, I don't know, 50 grams in here left. So this is how you would feed a starter, keep it alive and keep it going. Here I have 50 grams of bread flour, 50 grams of water. I'm gonna get that old starter, the new water, and the new flour all mixed in. So now we got new starter in here. We can just cover it up, and then this can just live in our fridge. It will eventually double in size, and if you ever see it then deflate back or get watery or sort of break, the yeast has just eaten through everything, and that's what feeding it is. You're just adding more flour, more things for the yeast to eat through, fart a little bit, create the bubbles, and then that's the thing that makes bread and pizza dough great. It's been 3 hours of cooking for the pork, so we're gonna take it out, see where we're at. It's actually still a little bit tougher than I would like, so we're just gonna cover it again. We're gonna let that go for, basically it's stuck around 170, 175, which is kind of, if you know anything about pulled pork or barbecue, where the stall hits, which is basically when evaporative cooling is taking place. It's like the meat sweating, like when you run and sweat, that's meant to cool you down. Same thing's happening with the pork, which is preventing it from pushing past that point into that tender zone. Depending on the size of meat, that might happen at different points. And it's again why I'm not gonna tell you exactly the amount of time to cook it. I'm gonna teach you how to know when it's done. So in the meantime, we're gonna work on something that I don't know is like super traditional to this, but Las Olas Cafe does this, so that's what I'm doing. It's actually nice to serve this sandwich with a condiment. Split down the middle, easy to dip. So we're making a raw salsa verde. That involves, 8 tomatillos. Now, when you want to shop for tomatillos, you want to look for tomatillos with like really fresh husks, not dried out, not torn or brown, nice and green. These are all examples of a nice fresh tomatillo. When you open it up, you get a nice green tomatillo. It's perfect, it's not blemished, it's not rotting anywhere. Once you've got the husks off, there's a little sticky film on them, we're just gonna rinse it off. So I've got my little bullet here. We're gonna go in with like 1/3 of a white onion. Whenever you're making like a salsa verde or something like that with a red, or for that matter, like Mexican recipes in general, you always use a white onion. White onion is just a little bit more palatable, especially for raw application. To that we have 2 garlic cloves. Just gonna smash those. Now since it's raw, I'm gonna get those harsh things in there. Then I'm gonna hit it with the lime juice and use that lime juice sort of mellow those flavors out. Also, salt to them helps as well. Now while those simmer, I can kind of shave a little bit of a serrano or a jalapeno in there. Just the cheeks. If you don't want it too spicy, sort of limit the amount of seeds you get in there. Some fresh cilantro. 1 avocado. When you're picking out avocados, you always want to press down here. You want it to be soft. And if you want it to stay super green, you want to make sure you see that the stem is in there, not flecked off, kind of like that. That allows air to get in there. That's what helps it oxidize and turn brown when you open it. So I'm guessing this is going to look pretty nice and green inside. There you go. If it's ripe, the seed should pop right out. Dice it up inside of its shell, scoop it into the blender. I'm gonna add another lime to neutralize any oxidation that might occur on the avocado. Now we can cut the tomatillos. A little more salt for the ingredients we just added. A little olive oil. I'm just gonna close it up. Now I must say this is completely optional, not necessary or traditional, but it's how I like it. And I think it actually goes well. So if you're Cuban, don't come at me. Now it looks like our bread's doubled inside. Nice and jiggly. Let's degas it get it onto the board. Got a nice large sheet tray here. Just gonna get it spread out like that, cut it in half. Then we're just gonna take one side and spread it out into a rectangle, flatten it out, use your thumb and fold over. So you're pushing almost a third into the dough and you're kind of folding and pushing your palm into it, right? Then we're gonna rotate the dough and repeat the same motion. Now you've got this long strip of dough. We're gonna measure it out till it's about the length of the sheet tray, and then I'm just gonna lightly flatten it. Then we're gonna transfer that onto the sheet tray. And then we're just gonna repeat with the other one. I think it looks pretty good. Let it rise another time. I like to take one side at a time and wrap it and almost use the cling wrap to sort of help keep its shape. As it rises, it'll sort of create some tension and hopefully allow it to raise up rather than out. We're just gonna let that rise. So I let it go for the 4 hours. Way more tender. Now, just wanna set this on the meat side up. We're gonna baste this sucker. We're gonna now jack the heat up to 400 degrees, which is the temperature the bread is eventually going to bake at. And while that comes up to temperature, we're going to brown this meat. Give it a check every few minutes, rotate it around until it's beautifully browned and caramelized. With that marinade that gets caramelized on top of the beef, it's such a yummy flavor. You just eat it plain, forget the sandwich, throw it on some rice, you got a meal. And you see how they doubled in size? Beautiful. All we've got to do, take a very sharp knife. We're just gonna use the tip of it. We need to score the bread so it has a place to expand. So we're just gonna take the knife and very quickly cut down the middle. Now our oven has hit our preheated 400 degrees, so while that meat's in there, we can throw these in. All I wanna do, a little bit of spritz of water on top. We're gonna pop it in. That's gonna cook for about 25, 30 minutes. We're gonna rotate it halfway through, and we're really just looking for like a little light golden brown. We don't wanna go too dark. We're gonna be cooking this in lard on the griddle. I mean, I'm turning you into a Cuban and a baker. We can't do anything to these until they cool down. And now our pork is done. It took longer than even I anticipated, even for any pork that I've cooked. So again, the recipe is less important than knowing when it's done. And one easy way for us to check, it goes in and out easily. That's one way to check. That's the most definitive way to check. Also the temperature. We can see it's hovering around 208, 209. At the center, it's at 203. Now, of course you can use it, but best practice, you wanna wrap this up nice and tight and allow this to cool down and relax. It's good now, but if you give it time to chill down, calm down, just chill out, it's going to be 5 to 10 times better. Now, since everything's pretty much ready to go, I got my griddle over here, and I got a nice, heavy, big cast iron pan. I'm just gonna lightly, gently start warming them up so they're ready when I'm ready to make the sandwiches to get fired up and cook. Now the pork is cooled, and if you know anything about a pork butt, it consists of various muscles connected by fat. So what I wanna do here, let's take this guy, put it in a bowl. And what I want to start to do is sort of just remove muscles and eliminate any unwanted fat. So you're almost just like pulling it apart. That's all fat right there. It's not the good type of fat. That's all fat right there. Gristle and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, it's beautiful. Squeeze it all together. Mix all of the muscles together. Combine them. And we can take some of that juice, get that worked in. All that flavor gets reabsorbed by the pork. So now we're ready to make sandwiches. Now one of these loaves will make 2 sandwiches. You just take the butts off, cut it in half. Not bad, huh? I'm gonna cut it nice and evenly right down the middle. Gotta make my doorman one too. First up, we got mustard on each side. Yellow mustard, the only time I really kind of use it. Spread it on nice and even. And we're gonna go with a slice of Swiss cheese on the bottom and the top. Then I've just got my ham, some nice deli ham. I'm gonna fold it just like that. Then we go with pickles on the bottom. Then on top of that, the pork. Nice even layer. Then another piece of cheese in between the ham and the pork, and then right on top. Then we're gonna take some softened lard, and then we just paint the top with it. Then we're gonna place those sandwiches right onto that hot griddle. Place that heavy pan right on top and weigh it down any way you can. I'm using a wooden spoon. We're looking to flatten that sandwich and toast and crisp up the outside of that bread, all while melting the cheese inside. And just like a grilled cheese, we're gonna flip and rotate it every 30 seconds to a minute until that cheese is melted. But we wanna be careful to manage the heat because we don't want it to darken too much. We want a nice golden brown on the bread. When it's crisp and the cheese is melted, get it off the griddle. Now for the trick. Normally, a Cubano's cut up like that, on a steep angle so you get like sharp points to eat it. The better way, maybe all sandwiches are better this way, down the middle we cut it, lengthwise. Nice sawing motion. Now it's about as perfect of a sandwich that I've ever seen, and is perfectly fine to serve as is, but there is one missing step that Las Olas does, which is after they cut it lengthwise, they place that sandwich back on the griddle, cut side down, and this is where you get sort of that Big Mac In-N-Out flavor coming out. It's the mix of that mustard frying with the meat that mimics that mustard fried In-N-Out burger flavor. This is a top-level technique, and it's why I love this place so much. Now we're ready to serve. A little bit of salsa verde, and you're in heaven.
It's the best sandwich I ever had.
Nothing beats the way this eats.
The bread is perfect. The pork is perfect.
The assembly is perfect. Everything's perfect. You want the recipe? It's gonna be down in the description. No traveling to Miami. Anyway, that's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.